Today, we're talking about flexibility because your retirement should be as adaptable as you are. If you're wondering how to keep your plan steady, even as life changes, tune in.
Today on Power Your Retirement, we continue our 7-part series about the 7 principles of Powerhouse Financial Advisors. And today we're talking all about flexibility. I tried to talk Steve into doing a handstand and seeing if he could do like some yoga moves for us on screen to really show off that literal flexibility. But he said, we'll just have to keep it to retirement flexibility today. Right, Steve?
Absolutely. My luck is I'd crash through my desk.
Our concern was that the episode might not happen if something went wrong, so we pulled the plug on that idea. But doesn't mean we don't have some great information coming your way today. So, Steve, I find it really interesting that as we get near the end of the series, we now start talking about this adaptability and this flexibility concept because. And it makes sense, though, but I think a lot of people will probably initially think about being flexible from maybe more of a personal standpoint. Like, I need to be flexible in my retirement preparation because I'm going to lose my job even if I'm just walking away from it voluntarily. I may have something happen to my spouse. I may have this life change. Kids may need me for X, Y, and Z. Those kinds of things are what I think initially come to mind when we start talking about that flexibility and adaptability, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, that would be the first thing that people think of is, how do we, almost from an insurance standpoint, how do I make sure I'm flexible to catch whatever is getting out of bounds in my life? But that's not exactly while we need to prepare for those things in retirement plan, that's not where we're going today.
Yeah, today we want it to be all about the flexibility of your actual financial plan. And so what I'm curious about, Steve, is if you can paint for us this picture of how we take a document, a written plan, a portfolio, and make something that seems sort of rigid, flexible and adaptable and all of those other things that we want it to be. And why is that even important in the first place for it to be that way? Why can't we just set it and forget it?
Well, over time, we do make changes, but I want to highlight something that most people don't really think about. And what that is that most of us, not all of us, most of us don't get a job after whatever schooling we decide to do and keep it for 30 or 40 years, grab the gold watch, and just march into retirement. That's kind of rare these days. So what happens is you might have a job for 5 or 10 years with a 401k, and then you have another job with a 401k, and then another job. And what people don't think about is each one of those 401ks is very different. And if you leave the one behind, you're not really monitoring it. Maybe once a year you log in. And we need to be able to have a system that we keep everything on plan and on point, not just in the retirement plan that's on paper, but also with the investments that are in each 401k. So our firm has a plan to make sure that all of those stay relevant and on point all the way to retirement when they'll all come together.
Take us under the hood then. What are some of those things that we're trying to be flexible for within the plan? What are these levers or dials that we need to be flexible enough to reach to our retirement and throughout it?
One of the things that we do when we onboard somebody that works for a utility, I'm going to pick on Southern California Edison today, not in a negative sense, but just as an example. And
they've got the spotlight today.
Yeah, they got the spotlight, but we'll reel a couple more in along the way. But what happens there is when I onboard them, I talk about this flexibility, and they get a really nice discount for being part of a group when they come in through an employer. And we tell them, however long you work here, this is what we're rolling out to you. And then when you decide to retire, all of that goes with you. And there's an easy transition period to retirement. I said, but you may not stay here till retirement if you go to another utility, because we're with almost all of the publicly traded utilities in the country. It's a couple small ones that we don't quite have yet. But other than that, we can actually transfer back and forth. So if they decide to go work for PG&E, which is a neighboring utility, which this gentleman did, it's easy to move everything over. And we keep the same plan, but we just move things back and forth. Or we can actually keep both platforms and put them all into our software and keep it integrated to make sure that all the choices are in alignment with the goals. Also, this particular gentleman took a few years in between working for a contractor doing the same work. So we were able to take their 401k and help with that and keep the Edison one. So all of this flexibility, meanwhile, maintaining the great discount that we offer on the employer platforms.
That's pretty nice and easy to see why flexibility of the actual plan is important. So now I'm seeing it break out even further, Steve, where we have our individual flexibility, flexibility of the plan to sort of adapt to the changes that you go through life, and then the flexibility of the plan itself, like just being able to exist in these different forms or through these different life stages or career choices that people make. So it's kind of a multi-layered, flexible conversation here.
Definitely, and the we need to both pieces that are flexible, because a good financial advisor, certified financial planner, will make sure that the plan is adaptable through all phases of life. Because we need to make sure we're taking a little more risk when we're younger, moderating that risk in mid career, and then tapering it off for retirement, to make sure, and everyone's a little bit different on that scale, but generally speaking, that's always great flexibility that we need to make sure that there's a beautiful transition through all of those phases of life. But having retirement flexibility, I find, even though no one talks about it, is much more important, because you wouldn't believe how many people have left behind 401ks from employment 10, 15, 20 years ago that nobody's logged in or looked at in forever. They don't know what it's invested in. They can't remember, it's been so long. They got to figure out how to log back in. And all of these kind of things that get left behind can be, not always, can be pretty devastating to their plan as they move forward.
Yeah, it's good to know. And I can see that if somebody is a DIYer, they're doing it on their own, going about it that way. Not only are you losing out on some of those flexibility benefits of working with an advisor or someone like your firm, they're making those basic mistakes, right? Of leaving, accounts orphaned at a prior employer, just as one example. So I can see that being just another compelling reason why this is part of your 7 central tenets of Powerhouse Financial Advisors.
It's really what makes us different in supporting this industry. Also, and I glossed over it before, and I'm sure we'll cover it in the next show, but the transferability, the flexibility to take that deep discount, even if they go to a contractor that's not on platform, is really big. Typically, in our industry, these discounts are only offered through the employer that it is. They're not transferable into retirement or transferable into other plans. But we do everything in our power to make sure that you keep that deep discount for life.
So you literally lose that flexibility when you're not working with Powerhouse Financial Advisors. That's something that you're exclusively getting through your guys' platform. I mean, that's pretty important to be aware of right there. So
it's something that makes us different. I'm not saying that nobody does that. I'm just not aware of anyone else that does that.
Yeah. Great. Well, thank you for sharing principle number 6 of the 7 that guide you and your team and your philosophy when it comes to planning for retirement. It's a great chance for me to remind you, as you watch or listen to today's episode, to check out powerupyour401k.com. That's where we have a really helpful toolkit for any employee of a publicly traded utility in the country to tap into some of these resources, to learn about some of the elements of financial and retirement planning that are key and essential to your industry and to your plans. This is really tailored advice and guidance to your world. So make sure to check out those resources available to you. It's not only the toolkit, we've got the book there and lots of other great resources and information as well. Powerupyour401k.com, the place to go to get more information about Steve and the team at Powerhouse Financial Advisors. Steve, thanks for the episode today. We'll talk with you again when we approach part 7. And a little hint, we'll be getting into talking about fees on that one. So thanks so much.
Looking forward to it. Thanks, Walt.
See everybody next time on Power Your Retirement. This podcast is provided by Powerhouse Financial Advisors, an independent firm with advisory services offered through Parsonex Advisory Services, Inc., PAS, a federally registered investment advisor. The information provided is for informational and educational purposes only and should not be considered as personalized investment advice. PAS does not guarantee the accuracy, completeness, or suitability of this information for your specific circumstances. Investment decisions should be based on an individual's goals, time horizon, and risk tolerance. Past performance is not indicative of future results, and all investments carry a degree of risk, including the potential loss of principal. Any case studies, testimonials, or endorsements shared in this podcast are illustrative of individual experiences and may not be representative of the experience of all clients. They do not guarantee future performance or success. You should not infer any level of assurance regarding future financial outcomes. Listeners should consult with a qualified financial, tax, or legal professional before making any investment decisions. Parsonex Advisory Services, Inc. does not provide tax or legal advice. Be sure to consult with your tax and legal professionals regarding your specific circumstances. For a copy of our Form ADV Part 2A, which provides additional information about PAS, including our advisory fees and services, please visit powerhousefinancialadvisors.com.